Hey, I'm Marc Cunningham with Grace Property Management. So I just returned from a speaking trip in Montana. I was in Kalispell and I was in Great Falls, had a great trip. And during a break while I was out there, a gentleman came up and he asked me this question. He said, Marc, is there ever a time when I as the PM should not be the one doing the security deposit return, but maybe the owner does it instead of me? Which brings up a great point. Are there times when we as the property managers or we as the agent for the owner should not be the one doing the deposit return? And I think there are two instances where we do not want to touch that security deposit return. And instant number one is when there's an owner-client dispute on the return itself. So let's pretend for a moment that a tenant vacates a property. You're going into that property and you're deciding that you're going to charge $100 for carpet cleaning and you're going to charge $75 to repaint a wall that was scuffed up, and there's a few other miscellaneous things that you're charging for as well. Well, your owner's a little bit overly involved because your owner comes in as well and the owner says, hey, whoa. I want you to charge for a full paint job because this just doesn't look right. And you say, well, Mr. Owner, the tenant was here for 6 years. We really can't charge for a full paint job. And he says, no, I want you to charge for a full paint job. And in addition to that, this carpet didn't come out. I want you to charge for carpet replacement. You say, Mr. Owner, I really can't charge it. No, I want you to charge. Well, now you have a dispute. So what do you do? Because you know if you make those charges, the tenant could come back and sue you and you're going to lose. But you also don't want to lose your owner client. So in that case, you do not want to be the one doing the security deposit return at all. You want to turn the deposit over to the owner client, have them do the security deposit return. Now, I'm going to give you another instance, but stay with me because towards the end, I'll tell you exactly kind of the language to put in your management agreement to ensure that you're getting this process turned over to the owner smoothly. So that's number one. But there's a second time as well, a second instance where you as the PM do not want to be the one doing the security deposit return. Rather, you want the owner client to do it. And that instance comes up when the management agreement is terminating at the same time as the lease agreement. So think about that for a minute. For whatever reason, your relationship with your owner client is terminating. Maybe they fired you, maybe they're taking the property back over, maybe they've decided to sell it. But for whatever reason, they're terminating the management agreement at the same time as the lease agreement is terminating. I strongly suggest that when this happens, you as the PM do not do the security deposit return. Rather, you turn it over to your owner client and let your owner client do it instead of you. Now, there's a couple reasons specifically in this instance why you don't want to touch that deposit return. The first reason is this. Do you even have a legal right to do so? I don't think you do. Your management agreement, making you as the agent for the owner, has terminated. So let's pretend the lease agreement and the management agreement both terminate on June 30th. So June 30th, you terminate the lease. June 30th, you terminate the management agreement. Come July 1, do you as the agent have any legal authority to go into that property, to order repairs to be done to the property, to oversee work to be done? What if a vendor goes in there and breaks something? Are you responsible for that now? Yeah, you kind of are, except that your management agreement terminated. It just leads into a whole problem of liability because you have no legal right. Your management agreement has terminated. So we would say, look, Mr. Owner, we can't do that security deposit return for you. Our management agreement has terminated. You fired us. So no, we're not going to go in and do a security deposit return. That's reason number one. Now, reason number two is you're probably not the one doing the make ready. If the owner's taking the property over, they're probably the ones that are going in and deciding what's going to be done. They're doing the cleaning. They're repainting the walls. They're having the carpets done. They're probably doing those things. And if they are doing them, you don't have copies of those invoices. You have no control over the vendors. And it's not really appropriate for them to give you copies of their invoices. You back bill the tenant. Now, if you say, oh, but actually I'm doing the make ready. Well, that's an even bigger problem because what do we say in question number one? You have no legal right. You can't go in there and do those things. You do not have the legal ability to go in and line up work, just extricate yourself from that situation if you're not doing the make ready. Now, a third reason not to do in those instances is you have no money to fix mistakes. So let's pretend for a minute that you say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it for the owner. It's a good owner, it's a good tenant, and I'm just going to do the deposit return for him even though everything's terminating. And the property looks pretty good, but the tenant did not clean the carpet. So you charge the tenant $200 for carpet cleaning. You send the tenant their security deposit return. You send the owner the balance of their escrow reserve, and you think, hey, I'm done. The property's gone. I'm done. Everybody's happy. And then 3 weeks later, the tenant calls you and says, hey, I got my deposit return and you charged me $200 for carpet cleaning. Don't you remember? I gave you the copy of the carpet cleaning invoice with my keys. It was right there in the file. I had those carpets professionally cleaned. And you say, you're right. That was my mistake. That's on me. Sorry about that. I'll get that refund back to you. Who is going to pay that $200 refund? You've already given all of the money back to the owner. You're going to call that owner and say, hey, Mr. Owner, I messed up on the deposit return. I need $200 back to give the tenant. What's the owner going to say? They're going to say, sorry, hey, that's on you. I'm out of the picture. Now, that's an honest mistake. But what if it gets worse? What if you do the deposit return in this instance and the tenant disputes it? And it becomes a serious legal issue. And they threaten to sue. And unless you return $600, they're going to sue you. Well, what are you going to do now? You're going to go back to the owner who you have refunded all their money to, ask for another $600? They're not going to do it because you've terminated their out of the agreement. In these instances, it is best not to go there. Take yourself out of the picture. Have the owner do the security deposit return directly with the tenant. Now, in order to do that, you need to make sure you have some language in your management agreement authorizing you to, in essence, turn the deposit over to the owner. So in your property management agreement, put language in there that says something to the effect that the agent has the ability and the authority to, at any point in time, at their discretion, turn the security deposit over to the owner-client, and the owner-client shall be responsible for the security deposit disposition process. Just something like that. Now, if you do this, and if you exercise this right, this option, make sure that you're informing the tenant of the fact that you have turned over the security deposit to the owner. You probably are going to have to give them the owner's contact information, but you're trying to extricate yourself from the situation. So turn it over to the owner, inform the tenant, give the owner whatever information they need to complete the security deposit return timely. Now, the owner's probably not going to be happy about this, right? They're going to say, well, this is what I hired you to do. This should be your job. And to which we say, well, Mr. Owner, you're right. You did hire us to do this, but now our management agreement is terminated. Remember, you're firing us, or you decided to sell the property. Now, if we're going to be selling the property for them, we'll still do the security deposit return. If we love the owner and we want to make an exception to this, sure we will. But we're probably going to charge them a fee to do so. Why? Because our management agreement is terminated and we need to protect ourselves and we don't work for free. So if you're going to be doing the security deposit return and make an exception to this rule, then have a form for it because you need legal authorization. Have a form to do that. Charge a small fee to offset your liability, to offset your costs of doing so. Now, that's a long answer to a short question I was asked over break in Montana. And if you think it's tough listening to me in these videos, those poor people had to listen to me for 8 hours straight. Yeah, good job, Montana, staying awake with that. But doing those things will keep you out of trouble. It'll increase your income and just make it easier to do business as it relates to security deposit returns for owners that are terminating.